But I just thank you so much, Amanda. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amanda. Please feel free to use the chat. She will be answering questions. And we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Amanda. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I recognize a few faces in the crowd, so it's nice to be with you today. My name is Amanda Geiger. I'm a senior economic education specialist with the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And before I forget, because I usually get excited, the views expressed in this presentation are my own and not necessarily reflective of official positions of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis or the Federal Reserve System. So if you're quoting today, it's Amanda said. All right, so I get the privilege of telling you about the brand new FRE.org. So you may or may not be familiar with federalreserveeducation.org or FRE.org. It has existed in the past, but it has been completely overhauled and rebuilt from the ground up. There was a soft launch back in April, and then the full launch in June. So we're at just over 2 months of it being live and able to be shared. And we are really excited to talk to you about kind of what's the difference and what are its new capabilities. So just to kind of give you an idea of like, one, why did we launch another education site or a new education site? And what does that mean if you're used to our sites previously? So as you all are probably very familiar, the Federal Reserve System has the Board of Governors, but it also has 12 independent district banks. Each of those banks has their own websites, and many of them offered educational materials. So between the multiple district banks, the board, St. Louis had 2 different websites, econlowdown.org, including our own, and then there was a Federal Reserve Education.org. There were 15 different sites where educational resources from the Federal Reserve Education System lived, which for teachers could be a challenge because it required you to remember kind of which Federal Reserve you saw that poster from, or where the comics lived, or that lesson plan you went to a workshop for, or whose video was that. So to streamline it and make it much easier for our education partners, we have put everything consolidated onto FRE.org. Unlike the previous Federal Reserve Education, which kind of would just redirect you back to the appropriate Federal Reserve where the resource lived, all of the resources live on FRE.org now. So when you are searching through the resources, you're not going to have to keep coming back to the site. You're going to stay on one website, which is going to make for a much more pleasant user experience. We've also added an LMS resources that are ready to use, which I'm going to demonstrate for you today. So prior, and you may have used it before with Econ Lowdown, you could do an LMS integration using an external tool. This is not going to require that anymore. You can download the cartridge to your computer and then upload it into your LMS, and then it is yours to use. So it won't require that additional tool. It won't require you to go through any IT approvals. You can just download the content and then put it directly into your course. So this is going to improve the user experience. I mean, even in the 2 months we've had it, we've gotten really positive feedback from our users. Additionally, I will say the sad part of this is that many of the resources, like if you've bookmarked websites in the past, those resources have probably been removed from their individual Federal Reserves and put onto this website. But it also does mean that Econ Lowdown is going to be retired. So Econ Lowdown will be retiring at the end of this calendar year. So New Year's Eve, Econ Lowdown will sunset and no longer be active. So if you have users or schools that do use Econ Lowdown, they can continue to use that for this final fall semester, but that website will be sunset at the end of the year. But those resources are now available on FRE.org, and many of them have been refreshed. So I'll talk about modules in a little bit. The modules were a huge undertaking, and we're really proud of how they worked out. But all of our module content has been completely rebuilt into using new tools, and they've been refreshed both for content and for visual. And we're really excited about how far the technology has come in those authoring tools. They have allowed for the experience to be much more interactive and to be just in a lot of ways much more engaging for the student. And then that last point kind of ties into one of the reasons for Econ Lowdown's retirement is that there is no more PII. So because you download the content and then upload it into your learning management system, there is no additional data privacy or security concerns between like your LMS system or your school district and Econ Lowdown. FRE.org does not hold student privacy information of any form. And only we'll talk just a little bit about what signing up at the website, like creating an account, actually does. But we don't hold student data anymore, so you don't have to deal with those PII issues. Okay, so we're just going to go to the website and start looking around. So if you would like to go along with us, it's FRE.org, or you can type all 20 plus letters of Federal Reserve Education.org. Those will get you to the same place. But it will put you on this landing page. And we're going to kind of walk through the features. You are welcome to ask questions in the chat. Jill, I'm so glad that your Canvas went so easily. I love that. That is so great to hear. But yeah, you do bring up a good point, Jill, and I'll talk about that in a second, is that modules don't save. So the students need to complete them in one setting. That is a really good note. And we can talk more about that. I'll show you on a longer module as an example. Okay, so Federal Reserve Education.org. If you click on the login button in the top right, which is actually what I recommend that you do first. If you click on that button in the top right, it's going to ask you to create an account. What's the benefit of creating an account, you say? Great question. Let me tell you. Creating an account, a teacher account, allows you to save resources when you search for them. You can create folders and kind of curate those resources and keep them all in one place. You can do that by class. You can do it by class period, however you'd like to organize them, so that if you need to re-download them for some reason, or you want to share the link with a colleague, you don't have to go through the entire search process again. You've already saved them. Additionally, I will say with it makes the search features a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is. I myself find it easier to be logged in from the beginning, because if you go directly to search and you start typing in what you're looking for and you find it, to save it, you're going to have to go back and log in, and it doesn't necessarily always like pick your search back up where you left off. So you might have to like repeat your search. So I always recommend that you log in first. It is going to ask you to sign in with Google. So currently, Google Single Sign-On is the only account sign-in that we have. We're working on getting it where you can use different emails other than Google, but we're not there yet. I don't know if you've ever tried to build a website from the ground up, but it's a lot. We've been working on this for well over 18 months, and it's been a lot. And we're really glad that other people can look at it now too, and not just us talking about it internally. So when you log in, this is what it looks like. So here are my resources. I've already got 2 folders put together, and inside those folders are the different resources that I saved. So if for some reason I needed to re-download it, or I was just searching and wanted to save my possibilities, like I wasn't ready to commit yet in my learning management system, I could put them all in one place and then pick that search back up where it was before. Okay. All right. So now that we've got our account, if we go back to the home page, let's talk about the key features. We'll probably spend most of our time on the resources themselves. I do want to take a moment though and give a shout out to the glossary. There's a glossary that has existed for a long time on the St. Louis Fed website, and from our data traffic, it's one of our more popular features. The glossary on the new FRE.org has an added bonus. It has a related resource link. So if your student is searching around for the definition and they land here, it can automatically direct them towards a resource that covers that topic, right? So adjustable rate mortgages, if you look at the related resource and I click on it, it's going to take me to a video about mortgages, an explanation video. And from there, it's got more related resources. This is part of a series, so these are the other videos in that series. So it can help really direct you quickly to a deeper explanation of that topic. So that's the glossary tab. It's kind of one that it doesn't look like a lot, but in terms of your user experience, it can actually be really beneficial in helping you find more information about the concept that you're looking for. Okay, so the resource exploration tab. When we click on here, a lot of this will probably look familiar in terms of our filters. You can filter by subject. If you're teaching economics, personal finance, just a general social studies class. You can search by topic. Okay. These are aligned to the voluntary national standard. So that's where the topic tags come from for both econ and personal finance. So if you're in your mind, you're like, well, why did they phrase it like that? Because we matched the national standards. So that's where those taglines come from. You can do it by resource type. So these are the resource types that are available. You have the audio Q&As, the reading Q&As, the video Q&As. Those are our, just like on Econ Lowdown. Then you have the modules. You can also search by a full curriculum unit, meaning it's multiple active learning activities in one. You can also look by individual lessons or activities. What's the difference between lessons and activities? Duration. Activities are shorter and meant to be kind of incorporated into other learning content. Lessons are that, a full class period or full sessions length active learning, and it includes all those components. Any activity that you need, any handouts for the activity that you have, it includes an assessment, those kind of things. Grade level, and then of course duration, if you need something short or you're looking for something long. Yeah, thank you, Joel. Thanks for the shout out on the glossary. I use it all the time when I'm writing, just to make sure that I'm using a kind of standardized language. Karen asks, can students create accounts to be able to navigate through all this as well? No, you would need to assign this as a teacher. So the account feature is just for the educator. When you put the resource into your LMS, that's where you would actually assign it to students. So for that grade book to record, it has to be incorporated into an LMS. And I'll demo that. I'm going to demo both with Google Classroom and with Canvas in a little bit, and you can kind of see how easily it integrates into your gradebook. This is a good question. So that's kind of a key difference between like Econ Lowdown and this new one, is because it these accounts are just for the educator, someone who's over 18, versus with Econ Lowdown when you would enroll students in it. So this is really just more the storage, and then you take the content and put it into your learning management system. Great question. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these resource types. I've kind of hyped the modules, so I'm going to talk about them a little bit. This is the It's Your Paycheck modules. So this is one of our personal finance series. When you click on it, this is just a kind of an overview box. Like if you know this is what you want, because you've already made that decision, you could download the file directly from here. If you want to know a little bit more, you click on the Explore This resource and it loads a preview page. So the preview page actually is usable with students, because if you're in your mind with your user saying, well, what if my user doesn't have Canvas, they don't have Google Classroom, they don't have Schoology, they can still share this URL and the student can complete the course. They can access everything in this preview except the final assessment. The only way to access assessments is by putting it into an LMS system. We thought about it a lot. We tested a lot of different options, but this was the best way to provide some protection for the answer keys, is that the only way that you can access the assessment component is by putting it into an LMS. But your student can still complete the activity here. So this one is about human capital. They attempt to crack this code, being given different clues every time. And then, of course, by the end, they can see that it's much faster to crack the code once they have more knowledge about how the code works and what the code is. And they work through that way. So these have all been refreshed. There's a new John Doe. I spent a lot of time. I actually built most of the It's Your Paycheck series. So me and John Doe, we spent a lot of time together. Let me show you what this would look like in an LMS, since we've been kind of hyping that a little bit. So I'm going to show you Canvas first. Canvas and Schoology have very similar ways in which you would download a common cartridge and then upload it into your LMS. Google Classroom is a little bit different, but also fairly simple. I'll show you in a little bit. There are how-to videos and PDFs with screenshots of how to get the resources into your LMS. But Mike Kyman actually produced most of those videos, and his tagline is it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and then it's 1, 2, 3 steps to put it in, and easy peasy. So let's say I want this Get Your Paycheck one. I know I want to use Canvas, so I'm going to click Canvas, and it's going to start to download to my computer, right? Common cartridge. So if you're not familiar with common cartridges, they're a type of zip file that LMSs can read. So I'm not going to need to do anything special with this file once it's downloaded, but I go into my course and I'm going to go under settings. I'm going to import course content. Okay, content type, you click common cartridge 1.x package. So common cartridge package. And then you can choose the file from what you just downloaded, which I have a million folders on my computer. All right, so I'm going to click common cartridge, building human capital. I'm going to open that up, and you'll see right here it appeared really tiny. And then I'm going to hit add to import queue. And then depending on the size of the file and how your Canvas is operating, it can take a second. So this one's running. And then when it's completed, you'll see down here, it'll turn green. Okay. And so then where does it go once it's completed? It goes to, and it's thinking. It's going to show up here as a module. So it basically builds a module is the Canvas term, right? And then if I want to move this around like into my unit 1, it's just a simple drag and drop. But you'll see the resource itself and then the assessment component. And so now this is tied to my Canvas gradebook. I don't have to do anything else. I can go in and edit it. If I want to add a due date or a number of attempts, I can do that. You can edit this assignment just like you would in any other Canvas. But let me show you too, the module now shows as an embed, and it tells the students approximately how long it will take. So this one's only about 20 minutes, so it could easily be completed in a setting. There are some that are a little bit more complex, like I think supply is a 30-minute or a 40-minute one. And then the monetary policy ones or fiscal policy, those tend to be 30 to 45 minutes. It does not save. It refreshes the page each time. So that's just something to tell your students. They'll just have to kind of click through until they get back to where they left off. But it will allow them to click through. And then the assessment is built as a separate quiz. So this is embedded within your Canvas course. So they don't actually have to click out to anywhere else. They can stay in Canvas. And then that grade from the quiz will get recorded in the gradebook. Easy peasy. Yep. To Kathy's question, do most teachers use these options? The answer is yes. So between Canvas, Google Classroom, and Schoology, this is about 80% of the market share for LMSs. We are actively looking at and doing testing on adding other learning management systems. So those are in development, and we'll be kind of adding those as we can because we want to have as many options for teachers as we can. But as far as our first launch, this is going to cover most educators. Canvas, if you're like, well, what if they don't have an LMS in their school? Google Classroom is free, even if they want to pull it to access the assessments for themselves, and you could manually print those out if you wanted. Canvas also has a free version that you can sign up for that has the capability, like basic capabilities to do what we're talking about. Yeah, it does create a separate module, which is really nice. I also highly recommend, and you talked about the supply and the demand ones. So in terms of modules, we have just over 20 in this first batch, and we're working on, we're into V2 development for some more. We did all 9 It's Your Paychecks. We did 2 on monetary policy, 2 on fiscal policy. There are 3 on unemployment, 2 or 3 on GDP, 1 on the art of decision making. And I think opportunity costs went live recently with more under development. So we're working on some cards, cars, and currency, redeveloping those. And then as we rebuild our catalog from the econ lowdown ones that were previously built and very popular, we will transition into creating new modules. So if you wanted to look by resource type and we clicked on modules, you could see all of them here. The supply demand equilibrium ones, Mike actually was kind of the lead developer on these. They're really, really fantastic. We were able to have an interactive graph where students can actually shift the curve and see how it interacts with price and quantity. And so it offers more options for interactivity than we had under Econ Lowdown. Yeah. Yeah, Moodle. Well, yeah, we did a lot of market research on which would be the most beneficial for our educators. And so we've looked at Moodle. We've looked at a lot of them. So that's hard, Karen, when you're teaching at different institutions that have different LMSs. That's a challenge. So let me show you some of our resource types that are not web-based, like an active lesson you might do with students. So I'm going to go to lessons and activities. And so let's say I want something on, let's do market structures and then see what we get. Okay, so you can see here, do you see the check, looks like a little ribbon with a check mark? This means I've already saved it somewhere because I liked it. If I wanted to save it, I could click here and then it would ask me which folder do you want to save it under, or do you want to make a new folder? And I could do that there. So if I click this, it's going to save to my FRE demo, and I get prompted if I want to go directly there. If I don't and I want to keep looking, I just exit out of it. The infographics and comics. So the comics are, generally speaking, come out of the New York Fed. Their team does a really fantastic job. The infographics are from the Atlanta Fed and are one of the system's most popular requests. If you explore the resource, you can download a PDF of the infographic. And then these infographics, which you may or may not know, actually do have learning activities that were written to go with them. So like it's an activity you can do, have your students do with the poster, but you can also order them directly from the Atlanta Fed. So if you want to order some of these infographic posters, you just click order now when you find one, and it will take you to the order form page, and you can order from there. And they have them in both English and Spanish, most of them, which is really nice. So you can just go from there to that page. Okay, questions so far? We're feeling pretty good. Okay, yeah. All right, we're looking pretty good. Now, let's talk about, let me back up a second and go back to my teaching resources. Okay, before I move away kind of from the teaching resources, are we feeling pretty good about how to get these? I'm going to do a Google Classroom sample, and then we'll start talking about some of the other things that are on the site. Okay, yeah, the posters, I am a huge fan of the infographics. I think they're just tremendous, and I use them when I was teaching, especially the personal finance topic ones. We had a system, the kids would they'd be in the hallway before they could get into the classrooms. And so you know how they kind of crowd around your door. I would just put a different one out there every week or two. And I definitely caught the kids kind of studying it and looking at it because it's very visually appealing. Okay, so let's do a reading Q&A for our Google Classroom demo. Let's see. I want to do, oh, this is a really popular one. Will robots take our jobs? Okay, I already know that I want this on Google Classroom, but I'm going to go to the Explore the resource so you can see the preview of it. So the preview will show you kind of the article that their reading is based on. And then when you click Google Classroom, it's going to be a little bit different. So with Canvas and Schoology, it'll automatically start a download. And the Schoology upload is very similar to the Canvas one. You basically put the cartridge in, it merges with the gradebook, and you're good to go. With Google Classroom, it's going to open a new window, and it's going to have where you can say use templates. So this is going to copy it to your Google Drive. Okay, so you copy it to your Google Drive, and then once it's there, you can then go into your Google Classroom, okay, and you can add it as an assignment. Oops, sorry, timed out. So I'm going to go into my test class. I'm going to create an assignment, and then I find it in my drive. Will robots take our jobs? I'm going to add that. And then I would make any adjustments here. I need to title it. Will robots take our jobs? And for educators, I think if the pandemic showed us anything, it's that the answer to this question for teachers is no. And then I click assign. And then there it is, ready for my students to use. And it shows up in my gradebook for Google Classroom. So in terms of, like I mentioned earlier, the student identifying information, once you have uploaded the asset into your learning management system, you own it. You have complete control over it. So let's say you go into this quiz and you want it to be shorter. It's 10 questions, but you really only want them to do 5. Or you want to add a question based on your classroom discussion or an additional assignment that you gave. You can manipulate that in your LMS. And then when you save or transfer your course each semester over, that will save as long as you're using your updated one in your LMS. So you have complete control over the assessment once it's in there, and you can make changes and adaptations as you need. Which resources are available in English and Spanish? It depends. The infographics are available in both English and Spanish. Some of the videos are available in English and in Spanish. It just kind of depends on the resource. We even have a couple videos available in Mandarin, which is, we don't have a search filter for that yet, but if that's something you really want to see, I can show you where you can go on the support tab and you can send us feedback. So this is actually a great segue for me to talk about the support tab really quick. If you have a question or a website issue or something's coming up, you can reach us directly. You can pick your what the issue is or what you're asking questions about, and then this gets submitted directly to us or to the Federal Reserve closest to you. So depending on the type of question, if it's a more geography-based question, it will go directly to that Federal Reserve Econ Ed team. If it's more general, it'll come to the website management group. But this is we're really, really proud of this, but also this baby is 2 months old. So if you find something, a link that's not working like it should, even not that they would be there, but maybe we planted some so you could find them, a typo, you can tell us about it and we would love to hear it. We really want to, we need more eyes on this than just the teams that build it. And so now we're ready for it to launch in the world, but we're really excited to hear from you. So if you find something, please tell us about it so that we can fix it, or we can register it as a resource that needs to be built so that we can improve that. So on this support page, you'll also see down here at the bottom kind of our frequently asked questions. And this is for you as a trainer of teachers. So when you're working with your audiences, these are some of the questions that we get. What's an acceptable use policy? But here is where the how-to videos and PDFs live. How do I use these resources? So if you are working with a school, you're hosting a workshop, you could actually pull this. The videos are step-by-step. The PDFs, same thing. Personally, I prefer the PDFs because I like to I like to go step by step with what I'm watching, and I have the memory of a goldfish. I'm not going to remember 3 steps at a time. I need 1 step at a time. So these all include screenshots of what to do, and you are welcome to share these with your teachers, or use them yourselves. Okay. The infographics are free to order. Oh, you would ask how many there are. I believe there are econ and personal finance ones, and I think there's over a dozen of each. So I'm not sure what their current number is in their catalog, but there are many of them, and you can order a full set if that is your preference. So yeah, and there's not, to my knowledge, there's not a limit on those. I don't know that they'll send you more than multiple sets, or they may reach out and ask, like, why do you need 20 sets of something? But you can work with their print team on that. Okay, just making real quick that I didn't miss any questions. Okay. Okay, yeah, so this is under the support tab right here at the top. If you click support and then you scroll to the bottom, there is, and I'll actually just put this page in the chat for you, this support page. And then the FRQ links are at the bottom, right there at the bottom. Okay, other things you can find on this website. So beside the resources, this is the other, actually I get excited about all of it, so I shouldn't say this is the next thing that makes me the most excited. The other thing that I think is a really tremendous opportunity for the teachers is the events page. So if you go under professional development, and we're going to go to events first, there are amazing professional development events happening in the Federal Reserve System all the time, and all of the different banks. And having them all on one website now means that you and your users actually can see the full catalog of offerings that the Federal Reserve Education System is hosting. So prior, you might get an event notification if you were registered with the Federal Reserve, like if you were on St. Louis Fed's events email, you would have got those notifications, but you would have no idea if Richmond or Atlanta or Chicago was doing something that you would have liked to participate in. And now they're all on one page, which I think is really awesome. And you can, if you want to look for local events, you can. You can also search by type. So obviously an in-person event across the country from you maybe won't be as appealing, but it will also show you all of the virtual and hybrid options. So if an event is happening virtually, you can participate in it. Yeah, you absolutely, Kevin, great question. You can participate in any event. So if it's, in person, if you want to go, you are welcome. We had a workshop hosted here in St. Louis last week, and we had a couple folks from Kentucky that drove over, and one who drove down from Chicago. You're welcome. You're also generally welcome at in-person events too, but those can be a little trickier. If you want to go virtually, you can. This one, so like this one's virtual. This is just kind of a 30-minute. You'll notice these are really quick. We're hosting a lot of these 30-minute kind of what are they, what's happening with FRE, how do you create an account, those kind of things. These ones are virtual. This is on the It's Your Paycheck series, the new updates. This one's on the entrance and exit tickets for general economics classes. This in-person one, if you click on it, it'll take you and give you more details. This one is Kansas City, I believe, is the one hosting this. And when you click the register button, it will take you to the appropriate registration page. Yeah, this one is in Kansas. Okay. All right. So that is our events. Highly recommend. I can tell you, I participated in some events in other districts, and there's just a really tremendous there's just really awesome work happening all over the Federal Reserve System. And so for people to have more access to it, even to kind of casually come across it, I think is just really exciting. The other offerings we have for professional development are our self-paced options. So there are 3 of them. There is the digital badge program. This offers a micro-credential through Credly. This is most popular, I would say, with our college-based audience because most of our K-12 teachers, I mean, some of them do use like LinkedIn for badges and Credly, but most of them are more interested in recertification points. But these are available for you to register for free, and you work through them, and then you get that digital badge that's issued through Credly, and then you can use that to promote it in online networks. So there are currently 3 of them. Data literacy for librarians, spread data practitioner. Those are both obviously they're what they sound like. They're very Fred based. Okay. And then Sneakonomics Pioneer Badge is elementary focus. So that's our digital badges. And then there's the graduate credit. So the graduate credit is offered in partnership with Wichita State. It runs on a traditional semester. So there is the upcoming enrollment, I believe, is August 1st. Yeah. So you can only enroll during the enrollment window, and then the course runs on a traditional term. It's $100 per credit. We get a steeply discounted tuition rate as part of that partnership. And we are going to have 4, actually, and I can announce here, we're going to have a 5th offering this fall. We've got a brand new course on market structures that we're really excited to offer. So if you or yourself are looking for graduate credit, or if you have a school district that offers an incentive for teachers to get graduate credit, this is a really great affordable option. Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed the exit ticket question. Oh, yeah, we do. Actually, we do a lot of work with College Board. We actually just hosted a APSI, a Summer Institute. If you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to send you the resource packet from our AP events, Kevin. And I think I'm just going to type my email really quick, and that way I don't lose it. And if you just shoot me an email, I'm on the road the rest of this week, but I can get you kind of an outline of some of our more popular stuff. And then if you keep an eye out on the events, we're working on a series for AP this fall. Okay, so the graduate credits, they're a little bit different in the sense of you have to register for Wichita State. So there's kind of multiple steps, but it gives you directions for how to do that. And you have to do it in the window, which is coming up soon. And now we can talk about my real baby, my real love. My deepest love is for our professional development certificate programs. So these are completely free and 100% self-paced. So these courses, we've offered them for a long time, but these have all been completely redone. So they are shorter, they're more concise. They have all of the new content that we've developed. So new module previews, new resources have been integrated. And we've actually been able to expand the offerings and make them a little bit more focused per topic. So prior, they were all 10 hours each, which proved a little bit tricky for people to complete. Like we all think we're going to have a lot of time, and then, the school year starts, and that's how that goes. But these are actually a little bit shorter. They average from 3 hours to 6 hours is the longest one. Inflation is a 6-hour course. But they complete them, and then when they finish, they get a certificate emailed to them that they can submit for professional development credit. And I say these are my baby because I built them all, and I manage this program, and I'm super passionate about making it as easy as possible for teachers to access professional development. And it's not going to get much easier than free and on your own schedule. So there's that. And we've got other courses in development as well. I don't anticipate we'll launch any new ones probably till sometime next year. But we're really excited about the feedback we've already gotten off of these revamped personal development programs. Okay. Are the exit tickets only for AP? No, we have a set of exit tickets that are for general economics. Actually, I can show you how to find those. We'll go back to all teaching resources and we'll do ticket as our search. So there's AP Micro, AP Macro, and then now the new entrance and exit tickets for general econ. So from here, You can take as many of the graduate courses at once as you choose. You could take all 5. Most students take 2 to 3 at a time, but there isn't a limit on it because they're only a credit hour each. So that's only a 5 credit hour load total. So here's a preview of what it looks like. If you click on open this resource, you can get the full document. It's linked by unit, and then the teacher concept obviously has the answer key. This download data tracker spreadsheet is an Excel that would let you track, like if you use them consistently, you could actually track the student data over time if you wanted to do that. So it's just an optional add-on that if you would like to be a little bit more intentional in your tracking, you could. So to save you some time, we built the Excel. But the exit and entrance tickets themselves, you would just print out the page and cut them out. There's usually 1 to 2 per page, depending on their length. And then one of the metacognition add-ons is down here. They actually rank their confidence level, which is really good data for you as a teacher. And it's not hard for you to gauge because they just kind of color it in. So you can flip through pretty quickly and get a feel for maybe how much time you need to revisit it the next session, etc. But these are all free and available at FRE.org. Okay. All right. I'm a little ahead of time, but we built that in intentionally. So if there are questions, you're welcome to come off mute or put it in the chat. But that's kind of the bulk of what I wanted to show you. We will be, we put, I think it's just over, it's over 500. It might be closer to 600 by the final count. But there's over 500 resources that we've added to FRE.org, with more getting added all the time. But if you have like a favorite that maybe didn't get the move over, or you're having trouble finding it, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear about it. But all right, any questions? Feeling pretty good.
Wait just a second. I mean, so much information. I'm sure there are some questions. Yeah. One of the questions I have that maybe some other council people in my similar role, because obviously we want to share this with as many teachers, you know, is there something, where would you start with showing the teachers these resources? Everything you did today, or primarily the LMS plugin? Or what do you think if we were to do a short in-service?
Oh yeah,
our
sure.
biggest focus?
So I always start my prep work with kind of like, well, what is your LMS? So I like we did a workshop recently and we didn't have any Schoology, so I just kind of skipped that part. And I start with like which learning management system is most applicable to them. And then I usually do a search based on what the topic of the workshop is. And if I just have a general topic, then kind of like I did today, I usually pick you guys, because you are professionals at this. I usually pick a topic, something that has a resource that I like a lot, or that I know they might have seen in the past. Like I'll show you a module that I'm actually really proud of. I'm gonna do, actually I'll do it this way. I'm gonna do there, monetary policy and the Federal Reserve. I'm gonna do modules and I'm gonna apply. Okay. Making Sense of the Federal Reserve is a new module offering that was based on a very popular video. So they might have seen, it used to be called In Plain English, and then we changed because we started offering it in Spanish. That name didn't work anymore. So we changed the name of that with Penny, and then before that it was Buck. We built a module around that video because the video is actually quite long, because the Federal Reserve is kind of a complex institution. So we built a learning module around it. We took the video and we were able to crop it into pieces and then build learning content around each component. So if there's something exciting like that, or a resource that you've used in the past that you know is really popular, Piggy Bank Primer, Kiddynomics, our Explore Economics videos, some of our most popular reading Q&As are like Social Security number, page 1. Why are some countries rich, some countries poor, page 1. You might start there with a resource that you talked to them about before and show them how now it's even easier for them to integrate it into their LMS and use it with their students. Jill asks, are FRED graphs incorporated into modules? Yes. Yep, we use a lot of FRED. And is there a tutorial on how to use FRED? There are activities on here. If you search for, I think, they're off. You can do a research type by FRED graphs, actually. And so these are all ones that not just that feature a FRED graph, but where the graph analysis is a key component. That's kind of the delineator here. You can see like here, FRED graphs data dashboard for educators, analyzing elements. So these are all 10 activities in 10 minutes. Those are all like how to use FRED and how to use data. This dashboard is actually a really great resource if you do any kind of tracking with your students. So this one's actually, it's linking you to a page on FRED, but it is the key indicator. So it's inflation, GDP, and unemployment all on one dashboard. So you could just save this as a favorite on your computer and then pull it up or assign students to look at changes one quarter to the next, or when a new unemployment release happens, something like that. So there's a lot of FRED options on here. We're big fans of FRED, as you can imagine.
Awesome. What other questions do you guys have? So many resources, Amanda. I mean, this is, I'm sure everybody is just now searching and totally navigating. Yeah, it's, I think what you said, I want to stress with this group, because like you said, there's a knowledge here and I understand what teachers need, and we have the econ background. You guys, you really want us to send you support or send us feedback,
Yeah.
send you guys feedback. And I think that this is a good group to ask to do that. So I love that you shared that with them, whether it's even just finding a typo or something that's not clear. That's something you'd like for this group to help you with.
Yeah. Yes, please. We really would love your feedback. And like I said, we built there are 500 resource pages plus all the other landing pages. So, it's just how websites are. We noticed at a workshop last week that the link wasn't opening to a window like it was supposed to, which is not a big deal because it was still opening, but it's also not the user experience that you would expect, right? And so if you find like it was an easy tweak, it was just some little error in the code, easy enough to fix, but we don't know until somebody tells us. So happy to have that. Karen asked, oh no, I'm sorry. Let's see. Are lessons aligned with AP Classroom? If it is an AP lesson, it will have been aligned to the AP CET, which would line up with AP Classroom. Yeah. But they'll say if they are specifically for an AP audience, they traditionally have AP in the title. If you're working with an AP audience, and this is just a personal experience plug, there's a lot of questions around if you're teaching AP Macro, the ample reserves model. And if you looked at this year's test question, it was a real doozy. I highly recommend, let me clear that out and do AP again. If you're working with that AP Macro audience, there's an AP Macro lecture guide. We have a college version of this, but we rewrote a version that uses the AP version of the ample reserves model and not the Federal Reserve's version. AP uses a much more generic version, and there's not a lot of resources out there. Most of the resources are, of course, coming from the Federal Reserve, who uses that model. And it looks like the US Federal Reserve model, and that's not what students are being tested on. So there is an AP specific one. So if you're working with that audience, I highly recommend this resource because the PowerPoint that they can download uses that AP version of the model in those explanations. Yeah. Oh, so what a great question. Are there lessons that work for week 1? Yes, there is. I think everything should start with scarcity and decision making, because everything in economics and most of personal finance starts there. So my two recommendations on that, and I can pop them in the chat. I think one of our best videos, like hands down, is the Explore Economics series, which is elementary. Ooh, it helps if you spell it right. The Explore Economics series is an elementary series that looks at like 1 to 2 vocab terms. There's one on consumers and producers, but because they're for elementary, they tend to be really, really simple and really, really clean. And that makes them excellent at explaining the concept. So this video puts it in a school context. The kids start with the school bought a little plot of land next to the school, and they have to decide if it's going to be a parking lot or a playground. And then it goes almost immediately into the next decision, like, spoiler alert, guys, it becomes a playground. And the kids realize they can't have all of the playground equipment they want because there's not physically enough space. So they do the math and they research and they come up with what combination of playground equipment they think is the best use of that resource. And the video is less than 3 minutes, and it's just really clean and in a context that students understand. So then from there, you can get into more complex decisions. And then there is an art of decision making module. Let me clear my filter. There's an art of decision making module that I also really like. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Art of decision making model is good, but if you want to do it with your students, I recommend this lesson plan from the Philly Fed. This one is about decision making, and it introduces the idea of PACE. So problem, alternatives, criteria, evaluate, decide. But it does it in a really fun way. You could just pull out the worksheet version where they decide what they're going to have for dinner based on a reading, or they look at rent options if they're going to do, if you want that personal finance angle. But I really highly recommend the blind taste test of pretzels. You bring in 3 pretzel types, they determine the criteria. It's so much fun, and the vocab is really embedded, so you get a nice foundation that you can refer back to, and you can use that PACE decision-making model worksheet over and over and over again for any decision that you're looking at in your class. Great question, Joel. Thanks for letting me talk about resources I like. All right. Anything else?
Amanda, I'm going to just pause recording here for now, but we're not done. If we can hang out,